This video will be covering all the various tips and tricks which you need to focus on while examining an ear. So first of all, starting off with the history, the most important things you need to ask in the history are if there is any history of diminished hearing. This can be due to a cause in the external ear, the middle ear or the inner ear. So it's very general and you need to ask a patient before examining him. Followed by tinnitus and vertigo. Both of these are signs of inner ear diseases. Tinnitus is where the patient hears a ringing sound within the ear, which indicates there's something wrong in the uh, process of production of the impulse from the external noise, because even though there's no external noise, there's a impulse produced and sent to the brain, which is basically tinnitus. And vertigo is where there is a loss of uh, position sense and you feel dizzy, so that is vertigo. Followed by pain in the external ear, the pinna, the tympanic membrane or the middle ear or inside the head. You feel any kind of pain, you need to know about that. And finally discharge. There might be discharge from the ear which might be cleaned by the patient before they come visit us, so we need to ask if there was any discharge present before you go into examination of the ear. Now, the tips for identifying various external ear diseases are your tragal tenderness and if there are any scars, kinesis and crusting present. So, your tragal tenderness usually indicates otitis externa, which is an inflammatory condition of the external ear caused due to a bacteria, fungus or virus. So, there is going to be pain when you press the tragus, that is the tragal tenderness sign. So moving on to scars, kinesis and crusting. Sinuses and crusting. Sinuses will help you find out various congenital uh, defects while formation of the ear, like a preauricular sinus or narrowed ear canal. Those all those things will can be used to detect various external ear diseases. Your scars will help you to find out if there was any traumatic injury, and your crusting, the presence of any specific bacteria, or they have specific colors and consistencies which you can look up in your textbook. So that would be the examination of the external ear. So you will be having either a tragal tenderness, a scars, kindness, crusting, or any kind of discharge or cerumen. Okay, I'll just add that over here. Discharge or cerumen. So that would be about your external ear. Then for finding out about the tympanic membrane, you do something known as otoscopy. Otoscopy is nothing but visualization of the uh, tympanic membrane and the middle ear. So the normal features of the any tympanic membrane are they reflect light because they're made of squamous epithelium, which helps in the reflection of light generally, and the specific part known as cone of light, which is present at a specific angle, so it appears shinier than the rest of the tympanic membrane. So why am I talking about reflection so much is if there is no reflection present, it indicates there's a possible inflammation in the tympanic membrane. Very important point, clinical point, which might be useful for diagnosis. And middle ear structures can be differentiated in a normal tympanic membrane. It's very important because in case of inflammation, the middle ear structures may be more prominent or less prominent according to various conditions. So that is another important clinical sign which you need to focus on. And final one is it is mobile. That is if there is any sound present and it starts moving. So how do you find the mobility, test the mobility of tympanic membrane is using two methods. One is the Valsalva maneuver, which most of you would be very familiar with. Another is using a special tool known as Siegel's pneumatic otoscope. So that would be all about the external ear and the tympanic membrane. Now moving on to the middle ear. So once you go into the middle ear, you very important things are how you first differentiate the type of hearing loss. You either have a conductive hearing loss or a sensorineural hearing loss. So sensory neural hearing loss. So you need to differentiate between both of them. So you can use either audiometry or clinical test. So both are just counterparts of each other and they work in a similar fashion. So your clinical test, important tests which you need to know are Rennie's test and Weber's test. In simple words, Rennie's test compares bone conduction versus air conduction. Usually air conduction is better than bone conduction. Okay. Then followed by Weber's test where it compares the bone conduction on both sides. So how this is important is any disorder is split into hearing disorder is split into conductive and uh, sensory neural hearing loss. So conductive hearing loss is going to have negative Rennie's test, which means that the bone conduction is going to be better than air conduction. Okay, that means it is a negative Rennie's test. So that is the first thing. And then if your Rennie's test is positive, that is your air conduction is better than bone conduction, then you have a SNHL, which is your sensory neural hearing loss. So very important. And then your Weber's would be your bone conduction on both sides. Just a test to check, compare both sides. So that would be your mm, testing. And what happens in audiometry is a frequency of sound is sent at different amplitudes, and the exact level of the hearing of a person is plotted on a graph, and this is much more accurate compared to these Rennie's and Weber's test. It works on a similar pattern, and more details of that will be covered in the next video. So first of all, you need to identify if it's an external ear disease, a middle ear disease, or internal ear disease based on all these tips which I have given before. And audiometry is used to have a pinpoint value associated with the degree of hearing loss and type of hearing loss, like based on the ranges which a person can hear. The normal range is 20 to 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz a normal person can hear. So all of that will be your tips for your clinical examination for any case in your ENT subject in your third year. Uh, in the next video, I'll be telling you about the various procedures which are most commonly done in ENT and will be questioned a lot, and you need to be very familiar. Thank you. Please do like, subscribe, and comment on these videos and share these videos as much as possible. Thank you.